Hi, my name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a relationship expert at the Center for Self-Differentiation. I'm the director, and, and I do individual, marital, and family coaching. And this video is entitled Dealing with the Over-Serious Person. The last video I did was entitled Over-Seriousness Kills Self-Differentiation. Kind of a complicated title. But the issue of over-seriousness is an important one in that it is a dynamic of enmeshment and fusion. And for a lot of people, this interferes in their relationships and causes them a great deal of stress, conflict, and difficulty with that enmeshment. And so I deal with this often in helping people to learn to self-differentiate. This video, dealing with the over-serious person, is in response to a number of listeners and viewers who contacted me to ask me if I would do a video to give them some direction about how to respond to someone who is over-serious to them, and what should they do, what are some healthy responses, what are some self-differentiated responses. And in this video I'd like to give you some vignettes and some examples of a healthy response to someone who is or who has become over-serious with you. First of all, let me describe what over-seriousness means. What do I mean by this? Over-seriousness is a reactive state. It's a state in which I think reflects our immaturity. And when I say immaturity, I mean our lack of self-differentiation. It reflects unresolved issues that we have. It reflects a desire to enmesh with someone. And often folks will use over-seriousness as a means to enmesh with us. And it often is a greater intensity than the situation warrants. And this over-seriousness is an expression of low self-differentiation, many times low self-esteem as well. It clouds a person's self-awareness, and it clouds a person's awareness of another person. When someone chooses to be over-serious with you, that often is an invitation for enmeshment or fusion, and we should think of it that way. For example, if I walk into an office or a neutral office kind of setting and do the classic joke kind of example of good morning, and then someone says, well, what do you mean by that? That's an over-seriousness that has happened and doesn't fit the level of seriousness that I feel. I'm casually saying good morning, and they're becoming over-serious. That is an invitation to engage with them, and often to engage with them in an unhealthy way, to engage with their issues, to engage with their over-seriousness. And so we want to be careful how we engage with someone who's pulling us into their orbit and pulling us in by a tractor beam into their life, and what ends up happening is we end up losing some self as we interact with them. They've already lost some self or a sense of self by their response in the first place, because if they were self-differentiated, they probably wouldn't have responded that way. Healthy people don't often respond that way. Self-differentiated people don't respond, well, what do you mean by that? So they're pulling us into that enmeshment, and we want to be careful in how we respond so that we maintain a healthy amount of separateness. Because self-differentiation is the process of being ourselves in a relationship, being ourselves while remaining connected. So having and maintaining a healthy balance of togetherness and separateness. This is enmeshment. This is cut off. We want to maintain a healthy balance of togetherness and separateness. And when someone becomes when someone becomes over-serious, they tip the balance and often have tipped over into the area of too much togetherness, too much fusion, too much enmeshment. And so we should be alerted when someone becomes over-serious in that way. And by the way, I'm not talking about healthy seriousness. If I go into a funeral and I'm visiting someone who has passed away and I'm talking to their family, I'm not going to be silly and inappropriate in my response to them. I'm going to be serious, and I'm going to be somber for the situation that it requires. But even in serious situations, a healthy playfulness can actually bring a lot of humanity to the situation. But I'm, again, not talking about immaturely, or I'm not talking about seriousness in appropriate situations is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about over-seriousness that doesn't fit the situation. Again, healthy closeness is good. Enmeshment in a relationship and fusion hinders intimacy, and it creates more instability and anxiety in the relationship. And this video is about that concept of over-seriousness and how do we deal with that. And I want to mention, why does over-seriousness equal reactivity? Because it's too much intensity, it inhibits relationship fluidity and the healthy relationship dance. It's like grabbing the lapels of another person. With our over-seriousness, we miss the process of what's going on in the relationship and focus and over-focus on the content or an issue of the relationship. So when someone's doing that to us, remember they are focusing on content and not what's going on in the relationship. When another person is over-serious, they become less aware, less self-aware. And when someone is with us who is over-serious, they become rigid and inflexible and less open to others and to us. Often is what happens. So we need to be aware of that. Let me give you an example. I having been a pastor for a number of years and being involved in the church, and a lot of people are involved in churches of all kinds, synagogues, mosques, in religious settings, that often within churches I have found a lot of codependency, a lot of enmeshment, a lot of shame and guilt that tends to attract folks to a religious setting, those who experience problems in those areas. And so what you'll find is a lot of folks will become over-serious in a church or religious setting, and I got some responses from people in the videos as to how helpful it was for them to think about this in this way. And those of you who've been to church settings or any number of religious environments, you'll always find the folks who are happy to become over-serious over certain issues and come to you and say, don't you know that God is against that? Or don't you know, and that the Bible says this, 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 and this, using a Christian example. And they're very clear, and they're preaching kind of at you. And what's happening when they become over-serious about this issue that's either being discussed or wasn't even being discussed, but they bring it up anyway, that what's happening is there's an invitation for enmeshment and fusion. In other words, I want you to think and be like me right now. And so don't you know we should be thinking and feeling the same way about this? Because this is the way I read the Bible, this is the way God speaks, and this is what you should be doing. And I think there are some self-differentiated responses that should go along. And I think arguing is probably not the way to enmesh with them. Because often it does create some argument, and it often fulfills what over-seriousness has as a goal. which is to keep isolated and keep cut off. People become over serious to fulfill a self-fulfilling prophecy that they should be isolated, cut off, rigid, and not work well with others or play well with others, because that's what they grew up in their family of origin learning, and so they act that out in an adult way. And so I think responding, for example, in a more self-differentiated way, of saying, well, I see that you have this all sorted out, and God has been very clear to you. I see that. I don't have it all sorted out, and I'm working through this issue. And again, I'm declaring self. I'm not criticizing them. I'm not arguing with them about their stance, because actually I'm more interested in the relationship than I am the issue or the content. They're over-focused on the content and the issue. I'm interested in the relationship. And I don't have it all sorted out, and I'm okay for not having it all sorted out. I'm working through this issue. Maybe we can discuss it more when I'm more clear about it. Well, of course, this self-differentiation always raises the anxiety of someone who wishes to fuse or enmesh with us. So whenever we become more self-differentiated, you might find a resistant or the other person becoming more resisting to what you're doing because you're not fusing with them as they want you to do. And the other person might say, well, I think it's very clear. I'm telling you what the answer is. What's your problem, so to speak? I'm being very clear. Why aren't you just coming on board with where I'm at? Because they see you're not agreeing with them fully. You're holding back something to clear it up and resolve it for yourself. That's when you can also respond in a more self-differentiated way to someone who's over serious. I realize you are telling me what the answer is. And I just want to say that's not how I do my spiritual relationship with God. And, but I appreciate your advice. And again, I'm staying self while not cutting off from them. Now, they may want to cut off from me, but that's their choice. It does me no internal self-damage or harm for them to cut off from me. I'm not going to cut off from them. I just maintain my position of this is who I am, and this is where I'm at. And I don't know how I feel about that issue. But no matter how clear you are, I'm not in the same place. And I don't have to be. And I don't have to be. I'm okay. And this is what I need to work on. And maybe it's not even an issue I care all that much about. But they want me to care a lot about it because it's very important to them. It may not be very important to me. But they would like us to fuse or to enmesh. And so I want to make sure that I stay my own sense of self and stay Jerry, an authentic Jerry, while they're being over serious. Same way, I think if you use the first example, coming in and saying good morning, and somebody says, well, what do you mean by that? Well, how would I give them a self-differentiated response to that? Oh, well, I was hoping it would be a good morning. It sounds like it may not have started out for you that way. I'll talk to you later. And again, I don't have to engage them any further than that, because the other issue is someone who becomes over serious, again, wants you to take their position and to agree with them. And I don't have to, and I don't even have to. They need to explain themselves. I don't have to explain myself to them. And just like the person who says, well, what do you mean by that? I don't have to say, well, are you okay? What do you mean by that? I don't have to take a Freudian approach to try to sort out with them what's going on with them. That's their responsibility, not mine. If they're upset with me, then they need to let me know. But that cryptic response of what do you mean by that doesn't tell me much. And I'm not going to fall for that, that invitation to enmeshment. in that. And I'm going to go, okay, well, you can be upset today, and that's fine if that's the way you choose to be. And I hope you change or feel better, but I was just saying good morning. Let me give you some other examples. You're talking to your spouse and say, I really think we could do better having our kids help with the chores around the house. And your spouse says, I don't know why you always criticize me and our kids. We're doing the best we can. And again, you're hopefully, in an innocent way, responding to, this might be a good idea, that maybe we could do a little better with that. What do you think? That triggers something in another person, and they become over serious for the situation, and it becomes difficult for them to talk and to respond in a non-enmeshing or reactive way. And often reactivity is a code word for enmeshment. So here's some maybe a more healthy response to a spouse who's become over serious. Again, the wife is enmeshing with shaming and guilting and negativity, and not really focusing on problem solving. And it could be the wife or the husband, and we can say, I realize we are doing the best we can, but don't you think we could probably tweak our parenting some and helping with the kids? I wonder if we could work together to make even more positive changes. I'd like to talk to you about how you feel and how you feel so criticized by me, because I really do care about how you feel. Again, acknowledging the fact that I'm going to stay on my side of the tennis net of this dance, and I'm going to stay on my side of the court, in that I'm not totally responsible for how someone feels. I'm not making them feel this way. They have a responsibility to sort out their feelings, and I certainly could take responsibility for anything that has been my fault or I should take responsibility for. I would do that for sure. Another example, Marilyn is talking to her sister and tells her sister, and Marilyn's sister Donna is very insecure and a drama queen. She is controlling and critical of everyone in the family. Marilyn's husband is tired of the drama and would like to stay home for this holiday meal. And they're going to have it at Marilyn's house. And Marilyn tells her sister Donna, I don't think Steve wants to join us for the holiday meal this year, but I'd be happy to come. Donna, the drama queen sister, responds in an over-serious way, well, if Steve is not coming to my house for the holidays, then just stay home. I'm so tired of Steve thinking he's better than everyone else. I'll just have Mom and Dad this Sunday. And again, Donna becomes over-serious, which is an invitation to enmeshment, and we need to watch that we stay back and not get drawn into that enmeshment. And we could say, either then or later, depending upon when we get ourselves calmed down or non-reactive, Donna, there may be issues between you and Steve. I'd like to give Steve some freedom and space to do what he would like to do for the holidays this year. I would like to come over and be a part of our family holiday meal this Sunday. If you don't want to extend that invitation to me, while I don't agree that that's the way to handle family differences during the holidays, that I would be happy to come, or I would be happy to stay home, whatever makes you feel more comfortable. But next year, I might make some suggestions. I want to support Steve and be part of my family as well. But if you can't allow that this year, I can't make you do it. I will make other plans for this holiday. And again, I'm going to define self and take care of myself, not try to change Donna. I'm going to express my unhappiness with what I think is an immature response. I'm not going to attack her. I'm not going to defend Steve, other than support him and him being self-differentiated if he doesn't want to go, or if he's tired of the drama or tired of Donna and her craziness. Sometimes in families we get tired of, or in-laws get tired of some of our family craziness. Or those that we've married get tired of our family's nuttiness, and then I want to give him a break, and that's okay. And I'm not putting Donna down by saying Steve's not coming. I'm just saying Steve is making a choice for himself. I used another example in the previous video on this subject. The husband says, my first girlfriend in high school, he's saying this to his wife, and they've been married for many years. My first girlfriend in high school and I went to Kings Island and really, really enjoyed it. I remembered that. And the wife, in her insecurity, and again it could be husband or wife, well, you never invited me to Kings Island the whole time we've been married. And again, she becomes over-seriousness about an innocent comment, not trying to put the wife down or compare her at all to that girlfriend, and he doesn't feel that way at all. We can respond in a more self-differentiated way. You're the one I married, and by the way, I'm less responding to the content than I am the process and the relationship pattern between us. And I can tell someone feels insecure at this point. I had no intention for them to feel insecure, but they do. And so I have no trouble responding to that insecurity by saying, you're the one I married, you're the one I chose. I hope one day you could believe that. And again, I want to address her insecurity and her not feeling special, which I may have contributed to as the husband, let's say. And either way, I'd like to address it and not argue about whether the girlfriend had a good time or didn't have a good time, or that I've never wanted to take my wife, for example, in this example, to Kings Island, because that's a non-issue. The husband would be happy to take his wife to Kings Island. He has no trouble with that. That's a non-issue. What the issue was what she became over-serious about. Giving another example, a 62-year-old father tells his 30-year-old daughter, who is divorcing, I want to support you during your hard time. And the daughter becomes over-serious and reactive. All the men in my life abandoned me, starting with you, Dad. What does the dad do? Someone has become over-serious with him. He was trying to be reasonable, appropriate, mature, supportive of his daughter any way he could be. And he could say, I agree, I abandoned you early on in your life. I have tried to make amends to you. I do love you. One day you might believe it, I hope. Just as I chose to abandon you when you were very young, I choose now to be there for you as an adult. And I am here for you. When someone becomes serious, I think it's always important to take responsibility for anything you have done. There's nothing wrong with taking responsibility for your own actions. And then define yourself, or declaring yourself, we call. And that's where, hey, I was wrong, but now I want to choose to do right now. And actually what I'm saying is there anything more I can do? There is nothing more I can do than take responsibility and do the right thing now. No one can ask any more of anyone than that. And so, again, I'm accepting my own limitations and my own self as I talk to the daughter about this. Here's another example. Everyone is at the family gathering, and Mary brings her new boyfriend, Brandon. Her boyfriend does not know the family secrets, not to discuss, because many families have secrets. The undiscussables in family. We can't talk about that. And some families have lots of things they can't talk about. Aunt Mary's husband is separated from her and is having an affair. It is never discussed. Brandon asked unwittingly of Mary, "Are you married?" And of course, everyone in the room becomes awkwardly silent, giving Brandon disapproving looks to Mary, and to Brandon, and to everyone. And Mary, I think, can make a self-differentiated response. And again, working towards being self-differentiated where we're not caught up in the family glue and the family enmeshment where I become trapped and a captive to all of this enmeshment, secrets, and over-seriousness that's all happening right now. Working towards becoming more self-differentiated frees us and feels more calm within us, and I think that's achievable for all of us to work towards that goal. Where Mary can say, "Brandon, I want to welcome you to our family gatherings. Sometimes we find it hard to talk about some subjects. You're free to ask me anything you would like." And again, acknowledgement of the secrets, and you're not letting all the secrets out, but you're defining your own self with Brandon. In other words, this is how my family works, this is all the secrets they keep, but that's not how I operate. So, you're welcome and you can ask me anything that you would like. And I think when someone brings a non-anxious presence to an anxious situation, it tends to calm down the whole more. Maturity tends to calm immaturity. A client comes in and states to me, "I can't believe you're such a bad coach or counselor. After our session last night, we argued the entire night, and is that what they teach you in counselor school? Is that what you learned in school?" I can respond by being shocked, silent, stuck, shamed. I could try to defend myself. I could try to argue with her about the comments she made about me. Those are all, of course, enmeshing and fusion responses. And I think having a self-differentiated response might look this way. Well, you're right. I'm probably a crappy coach. Sometimes I am. I want to resist defensiveness. I want to resist shame. I want to resist shock. I want to resist all of these because all of those mean enmeshment. Please let me know how the session caused such an uproar between you and Bob. Let's talk about that. Maybe I could facilitate our session better in the future. And maybe I could, better. I want to improve. Realizing that, there may be very little that I actually did wrong, though it's possible. I'm open. I make mistakes. I don't do everything right. There have been a number of times I've needed to apologize to clients. And I think if if a coach cannot, or a therapist cannot apologize to a client, that could be a problem, because that can be very healing to do that, because we don't do everything right. Not every session goes as we hope. And it doesn't always work well. We may not always choose the best intervention. And it's okay to say that. That doesn't mean progress can't be made. So what do you do to deal with someone who's become over-serious to you? What are some guidelines to remember? Well, I try to respond to the relationship and what's going on, what is the process that's happening, versus focusing on the content. And I think if we get caught up in the content of what's being said rather than what's going on, what's the feeling tone, what's happening between us, why would they, an example, if I say good morning and somebody says, "What do you mean by that?" I think it would be unhelpful to argue with someone why this should be a good morning, and that's arguing about the content. I'm more interested in, I notice you're not doing well, and that's coming out between us. I'm sorry to hear that. Hope you feel better. I'm not going to argue whether it's a good morning or not, or how dare you think I was saying something bad when I said good morning. That's focusing on the content. Notice when others have become over serious with you. Often the tone and the anxiety goes up at that point. Tension goes up, and it may feel very highly charged at that point. Whenever I feel that sense of highly chargedness, I want to try to get the tension down. And I often think about changing the tension or anxiety in the relationship by being myself and getting myself okay rather than reacting to the other person. That my goal is to take care of me. I don't mean in a selfish way. I mean so that I can function well in the relationship. And often that means don't do what's intuitive. In other words, don't do what comes natural to you. Because if you do what comes natural to you, you may just become reactive with them. And I'll argue with them why they don't think it's a good morning. And then I end up arguing about nothing. Or why the girlfriend and the husband had a good time at Kings Island 25 years ago. That's really not worth arguing about. That's not the issue. And often the issue is not the issue. The problem is not the problem. I think also I try to resist the over-seriousness. I try to own my own behavior and my own feelings, my own beliefs, and I try to resolve any over-seriousness that gets created inside me as a reaction to their over-seriousness. In other words, why am I becoming over-serious? Why am I becoming argumentative? Why am I getting all upset over this? Because if I'm getting over-serious, then there's some probably immaturity, unresolved issues inside for me. And resolving those will help me stay calmer in over-serious situations. Identify what you need and want. Ask yourself, what would I lose or what would be the downside of not being over-seriousness in response to this person? So if this person says to me, well, let me tell you what God thinks, and let me tell you what the Bible says. This is what's true, and this is what I know to be the truth. And there's only one truth, and this truth is as I know it. And I'm telling you what it is. Well, if I want to be argumentative back to them, and I want to engage in an argument with them, why is it I want to become over-serious back to them? Are there issues in me that need to be resolved? Insecurities in me? Did it touch shame or abandonment, guilt? And so I want to work on those so that I don't have to respond in an over-serious way and go, you can believe whatever you want to believe. That's okay. I'm not in charge of what you believe. I'm not sure it's a real helpful approach that you're taking, but that's fine if that's who you are. Sometimes I've needed to change the subject if I need to, or avoid the confrontation, or I say, we might need to talk about this at another time. If someone becomes over-serious with me, and if I feel unstable, or I feel emotionally not very calm, or I feel reactive, then I probably say, hey, we need a time out. Let me go sort out my own feelings so I can talk with you about this. Because I don't want to just get enmeshed and I don't want to get involved in the enmeshment. You could be playful, and I don't mean silly, I mean you could be playful. Just as I used the example of my son, who when he was very young, said, Dad, I want to go see Tommy, it's a school night, it's 9 o'clock. And I go, no, Andrew, we can't call Tommy's family and have you go over and play with him. And he goes, well, you're the worst dad in the world. I hate you, Dad. Well, should I argue with him about the content of that? Do you think that's really what we need to argue about? No, it's not about that content. He just wants to go to Tommy's. And he's thinking maybe my shame or guilt might get that a positive response to him. So instead I go, no, Andrew, you're probably right. I am probably the worst dad there is. Sorry. That's being playful and not becoming over-serious. Take responsibility for your own actions and behavior. Define yourself regarding what you want, you believe, and choose to do. This is declaring self or defining self. And we could probably do a whole video on just declaring self and defining self. And this often keeps you from becoming over-serious in response or becoming overly fused. In other words, like what I shared with the person who was kind of thumping the Bible. Well, the Bible says, and the verse says this, and God believes this, and why aren't you on board? I can define myself and say, but that's not how I do it. That's not my relationship with God. That's not how I understand this issue. So I'm defining myself with them rather than cutting them down or pulling them down. Certainly resist triangulation with others. And then at times I can use a confused state to stay unenmeshed. That I'm not sure I know what you mean. And when someone, good morning, and somebody says, well, what do you mean by that? I go, I'm not sure I know what you mean. But I hope you have a good day, and I'll go off my way. So I stay confused rather than having to become argumentative or over-serious with them. If you'd like to learn more about self-differentiation or gaining a true sense of self, I want you to contact me for online or in-office help. If you email me, I'll send you a complete listing of all of my free videos, explain the online coaching process, explaining fees and answering any of your questions. There's no pressure. I'm very easy to work with. You might check out Angie's list for lots of my recommendations. I hope you'll join our YouTube channel at Family Tree Counseling channel. Share this video on your social media. You can see on the screen the contact information from me. And I want to tell you thanks for watching. Have a great day. I might also add there are a couple videos I'm doing now that you might be interested in. One video is ACOAs and emotional hunger, and what emotional hunger is about, and for adult children of alcoholics. And then another video is the video about process versus content paradigm and navigating relationships, understanding process versus content, because that's very important with using a systems understanding of relationships. Gives you more leverage and gives you more freedom for self-differentiation. So I hope you'll watch for those, and again, I appreciate you watching. Take care. If you grew up with a narcissistic parent, you've likely developed specific traits that still affect you today as an adult, many of which you might not even realize. Today, I'm going to break down the 25 common traits and make sure to write in the comments how many you relate to. I'm Jerry Wise, and for over 45 years, I've helped hundreds of thousands of people break free from narcissistic and dysfunctional family dynamics, to reclaim their true self, and finally build a life of emotional freedom, inner peace, and healthy relationships. So what are the specific traits adult children raised by narcissistic parents have? Now, these are some of the common ones. It's possible you could be an adult child of a narcissist and not have every one of these traits. But these are the common ones I have found after working with adult children of narcissists for many years. Number 1, people pleasing. Believing love and acceptance must be earned by putting others first, even at their own expense. Number 2, over-awareness of others' emotions. Constantly scanning for mood shifts, often at the expense of their own feelings. In addition to this, we might also be toxically empathetic, hyper empathetic towards other people, in which we overly feel their feelings in an extreme way. Number 3, overly apologetic for just existing, saying, sorry, excessively, even for things that aren't their fault. I remember even apologizing for the weather when I was doing church work many, many years ago. And I would say sorry for things that I have no control over whatsoever. Number 4, struggling to make decisions. Overthinking everything, terrified of making the wrong choice. And this happens so much with adult children of narcissists when they're trying to figure out what is their life purpose, or what should they do for a job, or what career should they choose, or, what is their direction. And there's so much fear about choosing wrongly. And I understand that fear from my own personal experience. Definitely understand that fear. Number 5, low self-worth and chronic self-doubt. Feeling never good enough, constantly questioning their own reality, and that low self-worth affects everything in our lives. And we're always doubting ourselves. And so we run on the gasoline of guilt, shame, fear, and a drive for acceptance, approval, and even to find love and to find our own self-worth from other people. And of course, self-worth doesn't come from other people. Self-esteem doesn't come from other people. Unless you are an infant, a toddler, then that's a whole different dynamic of what's going on. But once you hit a certain age, it can't come from someone else. I'm not saying others can't care about you or love you or support you, but no one can give you self-esteem because it's self-worth, self-esteem. Number 6, fear of conflict, but attracted to chaos. So avoiding confrontation while unconsciously drawn to toxic, high drama situations. And isn't that kind of ironic that, again, I don't like conflict, but I'm drawn to the drama and chaos and toxicity of so many of my relationships. And why would that be? Because that is how we were programmed. The good news is we can break the program and reprogram ourselves. Number 7, hyper-independence. Never asking for help because relying on others feels dangerous or weak. And I would feel vulnerable if I have to rely on others. And so we can become hyper-independent. No one needs to help me. I need to always have enough money, always be able to do the right thing. I need to do it yourself task. I need to, if I order a little piece of furniture or shelf, I need to be able to put it together. If I need to move, I should do that myself. Hyper-independence can be one of the problems that we learned in a narcissistic home. 8, attracting toxic relationships, repeating unhealthy patterns and tolerating mistreatment because dysfunction feels similar. And again, it feels similar from our past. And of course, it's so crazy that we are drawn to something that feels like an old pair of jeans that fits so nice. And we can be drawn to that rather than beginning the process of self-differentiation where we change what we are drawn to because we change what's going on inside of us. One example would be if we're always looking for love from others and we don't love ourselves or we feel unlovable, continuing that looking is only going to be frustrating and probably will get us some pretty toxic relationships. We can begin to shift that by beginning and to work on our love for ourselves first, which is why so many marriage therapists, from my past working as a marriage therapist, you give advice to people who have divorced, hey, why don't you not date for a year? Now, is that just because I don't think they would like to be in a relationship? No, they'd like to be in another relationship. They still need to grieve the loss of their marriage, but they need a year to begin to change their programming so that they don't end up with a second divorce. We need to change that programming, because if you don't change that programming, second divorce, third divorce, fourth divorce, well, the first divorce occurred back when we were in children, and then we divorced several times after that. Number 9, trusting too much or not at all. Either blindly trusting people or assuming everyone has hidden motives. That's the ACON. That's the adult child of a narcissist. Many times, adult children of alcoholics experience that as well. Trusting too much or not at all. We are either clear over here on the pendulum or shift all the way over here to the pendulum because we never learn to be at the 90-degree mark. And that's what self-differentiation is, learning to do that rather than either extreme. Number 10, guilt and shame for having needs. Feeling selfish for setting boundaries or to prioritize ourselves. If I would actually prioritize myself, no, I can't take you to the mall because I had plans to go to the library alone and spend some time looking through some new books that I wanted to look at and have that time be a restful, relaxing time for myself. And no, I don't need to take you to the mall right now. I can take you to the mall some other time. And that would be a prioritizing of myself. But that can feel very uncomfortable if you're an adult child of a narcissist. Number 11, not knowing what healthy relationships feel like. Not knowing a safe relationship, stable love, a stable relationship, and true healthy love feels foreign to us, even boring. I've had a lot of people who found someone that was really good for them. They were adult child of a narcissist. This occurred with ACOAs as well, adult children of alcoholics. They find a relationship and it's too boring for them. They are so used to the chaos, drama, crises, problems that you get into a relationship that might be healthy and it just seems like there's nothing happening here. That's because of our programming. Number 12. Intense empathy for the wrong people, feeling deeply for those who hurt them while ignoring their own pain. Ever done that? Again, we feel sorry for people who have hurt us and don't even care about ourselves or how we were impacted. And that is not selfishness. That is empathy wrongly directed, is what that is. If you truly want to be empathetic, first be empathetic with you. Out of that, you'll know healthy empathy for others. Number 13, fear of abandonment. Deep anxiety about being left, leading to people-pleasing, self-sabotage, or staying in unhealthy relationships way too long. I can raise my hand. Lots of us have stayed in relationships way too long. We don't want to say goodbye. We don't want to say this needs to stop. We don't want to be left. And again, I'm worrying about the empathy and with my empathy about feelings of others. I don't want them to feel abandoned by me when really it may not be a healthy relationship to be in. So we have this deep anxiety regarding fear of abandonment. Number 14, adult children of narcissists read too much into text messages, voice messages, letters, emails. We may even analyze the punctuation and response times like a detective. Well, usually they respond back to me in, within 15 minutes to a half hour. Oh, it's been an hour. Oh my gosh, what does that mean? It means it's been an hour. Because you don't know why they haven't gotten back to you. And again, what does that punctuation mean? What do those words mean? We tend to overanalyze and read into things a lot of the times in relationships and even with communications. Number 15, over-explaining everything. Feeling the need to justify even small decisions. And I have lots of folks who deal with their narcissistic parent or maybe other narcissistic family members, and they will continue to over-explain after they become an adult, trying to either convince the other person that they're right and these are the reasons why I'm doing this, and if you only know the reasons, you would be nice to me, accept me, and understand my decision. As you've probably already found out, that doesn't work very well. It just has you over-explaining and putting you in many ways, a subordinate relationship to them. Why do I need to over-explain? Well, Mom and Dad, we've always had Christmas. I'm an adult now. We've always had Christmas at your house on Christmas morning. The kids' mom and I have decided we would like to have our own Christmas on Christmas morning and pick another day or another time when we can meet together as a family. And Mom and Dad or the parents get upset. go through drama, feel hurt. Why are you doing this to us? Don't you know that's always our tradition? What's wrong with you? We want to see the grandchildren on Christmas Day, not Christmas Eve or not the next day after Christmas. And for many of the kids, they might not even know what day it is, but it becomes very important for us as adults. And so, by the way, Jesus was not born on Christmas Day. So it's not December 25th. So you might want to remember that when we talk about that holiday. It wasn't on that day, but yet we put everything in it like it is. And actually, it's a family time, which is fabulous. It's a religious holiday and a family time. And we then feel like we need to explain to them, well, it's because of this and because the children, we want to spend more time with the children. We've always done it this way, Mom and Dad. And we need to, we want to make a change because we've just, never have enough time for our kids in the morning. We have to get them all ready to go to grandma's house. It just makes Christmas Day really problematic. I'm over-explaining the decision. A good way to respond for an ACON or an adult child is to say, I know this may come as a disappointment. We have always done this on Christmas morning. Sherry and I would like to do our family Christmas on Christmas Day with our kids. And we'd like to arrange another time around the holiday where we bring them over and see you guys as grandparents and exchange gifts at that time. Again, I know it may feel like a disappointment, which I can understand because that has been our pattern, but we would like to change that. Do you know that nothing else needs to be explained? What else needs to be said? It's what you and Sherry decided. You're adults. It's your family. It's your kids. Now, they may say, well, how are we all going to get together with all the family? Because your brother and sister and their families will be here. I understand they probably will. And that's fine with us. We can spend some time with them at another time. Or we all may want to decide, if we all want to be together, that we may need to choose another day for us to get together. If not, you guys have that holiday, we'll have ours, and then we'll come over to your house at some other time, and then we'll get the gifts to my siblings and their kids. I mean, I'm sorry it's a disruption, but this is what we've decided to do. So we want to watch the over-explaining. It only creates more reactivity when we over-explain. And certainly stay in a mode of firm calmness. That's very important for declaring self. Number 16, crippling guilt for saying no. The great book, When I Say No, I Feel Guilty by Manuel Smith is one of the best books I read early in my own recovery. And it just really, I think there's some other When I Say No, I Feel Guilty books that have been out since then. We feel like setting boundaries or saying no is a betrayal in some ways. No, it's a preference. I'm not wishing to betray you. I'm not wishing to hurt you. It is my preference. Here, you must eat the sweet potato pie. Well, I'm not one who really likes sweet potatoes all that much. Probably should because they're healthy, but I don't like the taste of them. And if somebody I go, no, I'm sure they're delicious. It's just not something I eat. And I can feel guilty for saying no rather than, okay, just spoon that on there and then I just take a little teeny bit. And then they go, well, you haven't finished those. They're way up in my business. So I need to, before that, say, I appreciate it very much. I'm sure they're delicious, but I want to pass on that right now. But thank you very much. 17, feeling lazy when resting. Relaxing triggers intense boredom, anxiety, or shame. And again, can feel guilty, feel lazy, feel worthless if we're relaxing. That's a common one for many people that I've worked with. Number 18, feeling safer in chaos than in calm. Peace feels unsettling, like something must be wrong. Everything's kind of calm and things are going on okay. I like it, but I'm still kind of hyper vigilant about something that's going to change or happen. Or when is the sword of Damocles going to fall? When is the other shoe going to drop? We have those kinds of feelings because growing up, there always was another shoe that dropped. If the shoe hadn't dropped yet, it will. And so we might feel safer in chaos than in calm. And one of the sayings I heard in the recovery community, if things are going along well, you may not want to be standing around someone who's an ACON or an ACOA. If things are in a crisis, there's a panic or some real problem, you're always safer next to an ACOA and an ACON because they can manage themselves real well during that time. But when it's boring, calm, and healthy, that may confuse them and cause them much more anxiety. Number 19, struggling to accept praise. Compliments makes ACONs feel uncomfortable and may breed suspicion. Well, I wonder why they're complimenting me. How am I going to get smacked in the end? This feels like a pat on the head, but I'll bet a smack is coming. And that's common for those of us who grew up in a dysfunctional family. Number 20, emotional chameleon. We become an emotional chameleon, instinctively adapting personality, opinions, or emotions depending on who we're around. We are a shapeshifter, if that's a word. I know that's in the movie somewhere. I saw that. But we're a chameleon. Maybe that's the best. We just kind of turn into the colors and experience of what's around us. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting along with people in different settings, but I don't consider that being a chameleon. A chameleon is, I'm whatever this group system is, I'm going to absorb it and regurgitate it. That's a chameleon. Number 21, struggling to feel real, feeling like they are just performing in social situations instead of just being themselves. Have you ever realized that, when you go out or go to a party and you're all done, you may have even had a good time. But if somebody were to say, were you your real self at the party? Well, no, not really. I mean, I laughed, I did this, but could I just sit there quietly if I wanted? Could I tell a joke if I wanted? Could I express an opinion if I wanted? Or maybe even express an opinion that wouldn't be popular. Not that I want to bring every party down because of a negative opinion, but I'm just saying that, how real are we when we're in social situations? 22, emotional numbness in stressful moments. Often ACONs shut down instead of reacting. They may be reactive, they may shut down. And then, of course, the ultimate shutdown is kind of dissociation, where we just kind of leave the reality here for a moment and leave our bodies and leave our awareness. And so emotional numbness is not uncommon. 23, an intense startle reflex, jumping at sudden noises or unexpected interactions. And I know after I experienced a post-traumatic stress situation that was pretty traumatic, I noticed how much I had an intense startle reflex. And even today, if I hear a particular loud sound or at a particular time of day, that may cause me to jump it doesn't interfere with my life in any major way. But, that can be a carryover from PTSD or growing up in a narcissistic home with CPTSD. 24, feeling like an imposter. In adulthood, waiting for someone to expose them as a fraud. We just don't feel like we are who we are, and I just don't want anyone to know who I really am, because if you all knew who I really was, well, you wouldn't be listening to me at all. It's that imposter syndrome that regardless of the problems and things I've been through, you can listen to me, learn from me, take what you can use and leave the rest. That's how we should view YouTube videos. But many of us have experienced the imposter syndrome because of growing up in dysfunctional families. Number 25, fear of being too much or not enough. Constantly worrying how we are being perceived. And again, in relationships and dating situations, am I too much? Am I not enough? And we do what I call the pendulum swing. And the pendulum emotional swing and mental swing is often a result of a toxic, narcissistic, or very dysfunctional family. We go from this side to 0 degrees over to 180 degrees. And as I've learned, 180 degrees from sick is still sick. 90 degrees is what's healthy. And so we get to a balance and learn to love ourselves and care about ourselves. So I don't feel like I'm too much. I don't feel like I'm not enough. I'm just kind of me. If you're ready to finally break free and build a life filled with emotional freedom, inner peace, and healthy relationships, join the free training today. Over 30,000 people have taken this training and used it to build a strong, confident sense of self, free from guilt, control, manipulation. Click the link below and get started. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you won't miss any new upcoming videos. I want to thank you for watching. Have a great day and be wise.
Hey, hi everybody. My name is Jerry Wise, and I'm a life and relationship coach. And I've been helping people for probably 45 years now to help them become more self-differentiated and to work on their recovery and healing. And what I'd like you to do is, if you could, join this YouTube channel for this video. Also click the bell so you get notified when new videos go up. And there's an inexpensive membership that you can join on this channel. I think it's about $2 a month to help support the channel, because these videos that I provide are free. They take lots of time and energy to produce. But I wanted to give you a chance to be a part of the work that I would like to teach and publish out there to those who are in need and in need of healing. This particular video is entitled How to Resist the Role of Scapegoat, or How to Resist as a Scapegoat. Let me first define what it means to be a scapegoat, or what is a scapegoat role. A scapegoat is a family role embraced by the family, absorbed by the scapegoat, and it is there, that important dynamic is there to express, to deny, and to drain off the family's pain or dysfunction. So a scapegoat role is to express that pain through this indirect means. To you, as out of denial, we set up a scapegoat in the family, and this is all unconscious for the most part. And then we drain off the family pain from the problems or severe difficulties to the scapegoat. And the scapegoat is the distraction, the family, and what others need from the real root problems. The family can't talk about the real problems, the real difficulties, so they can talk about their scapegoated child. And this they'll talk with other family members, other friends, etc. Then everybody's focused on the scapegoat, and their eyes are not focused on the real problems. Much like you would have for a magician who has a sleight of hand. He'll have you look over here while he's doing something over here, but he keeps your focus over here. The scapegoat is the focus, or the sleight of hand. He goes over here and does his magic stuff, and the magician wants you to look over this direction. So the scapegoat is that distraction. Most dysfunctional families have a scapegoat and need a scapegoat to maintain the status quo of the family, to maintain the balance, to maintain the homeostasis, the equanimity, the equilibrium of the family and within the family. If you have the scapegoat, then it keeps everybody else's dysfunctional role in place, and they don't have to deal with the real problems. If you understand how and why scapegoating works, and you can then inform yourself as to how to resist this role and what you can do to resist it and oppose it in a self-differentiated way, not in a reactive anti-scapegoat way. Because again, when I say anti, you have 0 and then 180 degrees over here. If 0 is sick, then 180 degree anti that is also sick. So we want to learn to live out of that scapegoat role at the 90-degree mark. Neither being it nor totally opposing it in a reactive way. We want to get to the 90-degree mark. This video is about what you can do and how you can view your role as a scapegoat. These helps are things we can do short of going no contact, and unfortunately some people must go no contact because of the difficulties they have with their family and how toxic or damaging their family can be. So some do go no contact. There are many who stay in contact with their family, and these are steps and things you can take a look at short of going no contact. And I explain about going no contact and how you make that decision in other videos. You might check those out. Let me talk about the word supply. In the narcissistic abuse world, supply, or for the narcissism, supply is used, meaning we end up being supply for someone who has a personality disorder. We are their supply. We provide them with their admiration and our never-ending understanding and our love and all those things. We provide that supply for them. And they just gobble it up while gobbling us up at the same time. And so supply is a good way to think about being a scapegoat, because as a scapegoat, we provide supply for this dysfunctional family as well. And I want to share with you how supply plays into the families whom have different roles: golden child, mascot, lost child, scapegoat, enabler. There are all kinds of family roles. I'm talking about scapegoating in this video, and we'll see how we provide supply as a scapegoat. Supply are all of the ways we provide dysfunctional, emotional relationship fuel for the dysfunctional family or person in our life who scapegoats us. We we the yearning for things to be right and things to be good. We provide the enmeshment and the fusion. We participate in that enmeshment or fusion. We may provide being a whipping boy for the relationship or for the family. We may provide the deflection and away from the root problems. We provide that supply of being a deflection for that and a focus away from the real problems. And we do that by our giving, our fixing, our caretaking, our never-ending understanding, as I had mentioned, our love, our giving, and even our reactivity. Because reactivity is supply for this family as well, if you're a scapegoat. Because one of the ways to stay a scapegoat is keep being reactive. That continues to solidify that role in the system. And we want to deprive the family of this emotional and relational supply. And how do we do that? By becoming more aware of and resisting these forms of supply. Can we change their unconscious? Can we change their conscious thoughts about us? Maybe, many times not. But we can affect the system by withdrawing the supply that it needs to keep this lie and this toxic relationship going, such as keeping us as a scapegoat. The first is what I call reactive supply or reactivity supply. Being reactive only keeps us in a form of pursuit of the relationship and keeps us in our role. Do you know that every time you're reactive, it's a pursuit of this unhealthy dynamic in the relationship? I don't want to be reactive in that way. I want to remain more calm, so I'm not pursuing or fusing with this relationship through my reactivity. Reactivity serves keeping the role in place. Mother calls to complain, "You don't ever come over as much as you should." Again, a shaming statement. Should, ought, those kinds of statements are generally shaming statements. Stay calm, resist reactivity, and state, I come over, Mom, just the right amount of times, but I appreciate you inviting me. Now I'm depriving this relationship of that scapegoat role because I'm being myself. I'm being an adult. And so I'm not feeding it with reactivity, and we'll see other things as well that we feed that. There are other things, other ways in which our reactivity feeds this role of scapegoating. Our shame reaction, which we want to work on, our abandonment reaction, our fear reactions, our guilt reactions and reactivity. Many times when we re-feel those feelings time and time again in the relationship system, we are just reinforcing this role of scapegoat. And we fuel the fire, and we fuel and provide the supply for this unhealthy role. That's why I try to help people to overcome their shame responses, shame reactivity, guilt reactivity, because all of those are a lie. There's not real shame involved. There's not real guilt involved. This is familial guilt. This is family guilt. And in one video, I talk about a number of different types of guilt, for example, such as societal guilt, maybe true spiritual guilt, false guilt or systems guilt. There's healthy guilt. Sometimes when we do something wrong, there's an appropriate way in which we feel guilty. But many times in dysfunctional families, guilt is felt, but it's not based on doing anything bad. It's based on something the family just didn't like. That's not doing anything bad. Being yourself is not being bad. But in a dysfunctional family, you should feel guilty about that because you're not playing your role. Second of all, systems feeling supply is another supply we supply to this role. When the family shames us, guilts us, demeans us, ignores us, or shoulds us, we then feel ashamed and guilty and lonely and hurt and sad. These are all systems feelings. They're false feelings. They're feelings created by the system so that you will continue to play your same role. You may not actually have done anything that you should feel guilt for. You may not have done anything to feel ashamed for, but yet we still feel the shame. That's why it's false shame. It's not real shame. It's shame that is offered to us and we accept it. And really, there's no need for us to feel shamed. You know, when a parent or a sister or brother tells you, well, you've just never loved me like you should have. I don't know why you didn't accept me and care about me. That's supposed to make me feel guilty or ashamed. I don't have to feel guilty or ashamed. And in fact, I remember even talking about how I'd say, well, our relationship has always been troubled. It's been troubled from the beginning. So we all did things to make this relationship not work. It wasn't just me. And again, they want you to think it's just you. No one else provides any dynamics to this relationship. It's just your fault. These feelings feed the family supply needs. If we deprive them of these feelings, then we tend to stabilize ourselves as a real self and be self-differentiated. Recognize and resolve and heal these feelings so they don't keep getting re-triggered in a false way in your relationships with family or other adults. Stop accepting shame as real shame. Stop accepting systems guilt or guilt as real guilt. Stop accepting systems hurt as real hurt. Again, if somebody's saying something to hurt me, I think they're calling me a Coca-Cola, and it doesn't feel hurtful because it doesn't have to hurt. It's just their problem and their way of thinking. It's not the real me that they're talking about. And stop accepting rejection as real rejection. Many times people will feel rejected by family members or family who's never loved them. And so I'm going, why do you feel rejected? You've never been accepted. I mean, why wouldn't you expect to be rejected? I mean, why would that hurt you so badly? They've always done that. That's always been their mode. And that's how I've worked on my own pain and struggles as a good recovering codependent. Number 3 is role supply. Just the role of being a scapegoat provides supply to the family. Acting like a scapegoat, doing scapegoat behaviors, getting in trouble, limiting your success, keeping your self-esteem low, acting immaturely, complaining about the role that you are as a scapegoat, blaming others for the role as a scapegoat. We move into victim behavior and playing the victim. We might overfunction or we might underfunction. And we want to be self versus scapegoat or anti-scapegoat. We don't want to be scapegoat or anti-scapegoat. We want to be ourselves. And that's what I help clients to do and those who work with me. We want to detach from the family and detach from that role. And we may even need to first become confused. That may be a healthy step. Instead of being mad, hurt, angry, it's good to move into confusion. You know, why are they upset with me for what I did? I haven't done anything. So I'm really confused. Rather than taking it on as one more time, they're causing me this horrible problem and are scapegoating me. No, I'm just confused as to why they are acting so crazy, or some say psychotic, and why are they doing this? Confusion is better than the anger and the hurt. And it's okay to be confused about family members. Fourthly, deprive them of the dream fantasy supply. One of the things that keeps us as scapegoats and our never-ending understanding, patience, hope, long-suffering, is that we are living the fantasy they will someday accept us, love us, hear us, and understand us. We are our dream and their dream fantasy as a supply. And so we just keep yearning for that, which keeps us connected. But it adds supply to the role of the scapegoat. Once we get to a place where we can start to accept that, you know, I don't need them. I'd like to have a family that loves me and I love them, but I don't need them to exist as an adult. And I do accept that, you know, they're never going to change. Most families don't. A few do, but many families don't. Can I be happy even if they don't? And if you say, no, I can't be happy even if they don't, then we're still caught in the dream fantasy supply that we supply to them and supply to these roles in the family. Fifthly, the secrets supply. That supplies a lot for this toxic family and when there's scapegoating going on. And if we can deprive them of the secrets supply, we are the keepers of the family and relationship system secrets. And they keep us locked in because we keep those secrets. And we've probably spoken up before about these secrets and really gotten shut down. And the family goes crazy, don't want to talk about it, don't want to deal with it. Or don't accept it or are still in denial, such as dad's alcoholism, mom's neglect, brother's abuse, all of those things that happened when we were growing up, and none of those happened in the family because they're all in denial. So many times we lift the skirt or the secret truth tellers in the family, and then you'll get pigeonholed into being a scapegoat. When we keep these secrets, we then align with the dysfunctional family. Now, I don't mean by that we go around dropping bombs, emotional and communication bombs everywhere we are. We walk into grandma's house and go, by the way, I just want to tell you, Dad was an alcoholic. No, we don't do that. But what we do is accept our reality and accept what we know. And so when we say, Dad, Dad wasn't always the best dad in all the world. And then the sister or brother says, well, Dad was a great dad. They're in denial and they have to deify Dad because that's their role. Dad was a great dad. And then we can say, yeah, there were times he was. He also was an alcoholic. Matter of fact, saying it calmly, not trying to make everybody believe what you're saying. It's just, this is my perspective and I don't have to back down from that. Mom did many good things for us, but she was neglectful. And that's a matter of fact way. It takes the energy out of the supply. It takes that supply away from the family. And when you choose to talk about it, be sure to stay calm and matter of fact, and not trying to change the other person's perspective. And again, if I say, well, yeah, there were times Dad was a great dad, but he was an alcoholic. I'm stating that as a matter of fact, not trying to get you to make you believe that or come over to my side. I'm just stating this is how I saw our family. And sixthly, there is information supply. We want to deprive them of the information that we have, because information is very important for keeping roles functioning. Golden child, mascot, scapegoat. Information is very important for those triangulations that the families do. Be less vulnerable. Offer fewer details and information about your life in a calm way. Because otherwise we become the family gossip focus, which we can't control. I understand that, but I don't have to provide all the juicy details for them. And that could be your jobs, your salary, your car purchases, voting preferences, religious views, relationship details, kids' lives. You don't have to provide all that information, or how you and your husband or you and your wife are doing, and just put that into the family gossip mill. If ever someone asks me and I want to provide less information, then I shift it back onto them. Say Mom is talking to Mary and says, well, how is Bill doing with the kids these days? Bill's Mary's husband. Mary would say, if she's been the scapegoat, just fine. How are you and Dad doing? And put the focus right back on them rather than having it on you. And you can continue to do that in a broken record way. Yeah, but I want to know, is he still really angry with the kids? Does he still discipline them the way he does? Mom, everything is fine. And, I was hoping we could go out for coffee today. And we just shift the focus away from all the information they want to hear about us. These perspectives and responses change your functioning in the system. I have other supplies, such as triangulation supply. There are other types of supply that we provide in dysfunctional families. And I'll be sharing those in other videos. Now, if we change our perspective and responses, as I have described, this may result in greater resistance from the family. Over time, greater acceptance and role shift may happen. And so there may be an improvement in the family if we change ourselves, but it may start out with greater resistance. Hopefully, it is a hope that if we continue to provide the contagion of calm, that can help the family settle down. Because if you're in connection with the family and you remain calm, it does have some contagious dynamics to it. If there is no improvement in the family, and you do all of these things today that I'd mentioned, if it doesn't work, you still win. Because they weren't going to change anyway, you're at least still working on yourself and what you're providing for others and doing for others. Remember, the scapegoat role may be hopeless, but it's not serious. That's one of my favorite quotes that I have heard. The situation is hopeless, but not serious. And it's not serious because we don't have to keep it alive in us. They may still want to see us as a scapegoat, but we don't have to keep that role inside alive for us. I hope you'll join the membership today on YouTube. Click join, click subscribe, click the bell if you want to get videos, each new video that comes out. You can make donations at my website at www.jerrywiserelationshipsystems.com if you want to continue to receive these free videos. I hope you have a great day, and be wise. Hi everybody, my name is Jerry Wise, and I want to welcome you back down to Miami South Beach. I'm staying here at the Como Metropolitan Hotel, a wonderful hydrotherapy hotel down here in Miami, and I thought you might enjoy the ocean and what's going on out here. It's a beautiful morning, and I wanted to present a video to you entitled 15 Ways to Stop Obsessing About a Relationship. You may not know me. I'm Jerry Wise, a relationship expert. I'm the director for the Center of Self-Differentiation. And as a self-differentiation specialist, I've been helping individuals, couples, and families for over 40 years now. I've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of clients who were locked into a relationship with someone in which they found themselves obsessing about them. Thinking, planning, their mind going, behaviors, obsession or compulsive behaviors with relationships, can't let people go. They go into a relationship, come out, find themselves going back into a relationship. That's true in narcissistic relationships and a lot of other dysfunctional relationships. And I'm talking about people who could be spouses, friends, significant others, partners, parents, or family members. Anybody that we're obsessing about. And we can't get unhooked from them. So what do I mean by obsessing? I mean it's the experience of being other focused. Not me focused, not other focused. Totally other focused. Codependents tend to do that. A lot of adult children of dysfunctional families are other focused. And the focus on others tends to intensify our anxiety. And then as that anxiety goes up, we obsess even more. And then we focus on them more, our anxiety goes up, or we focus on them more, try to interact with them, our anxiety comes down, and then when we don't feel the connection, the obsession starts again, and it starts going back up again, and we have this obsessive process that goes on. We constantly think about them, we call them, we might even stalk them. We look for a call all the time. We're checking out their Facebook, YouTube page, everything we possibly can. We ask siblings about other family members because we might be obsessing about dad. And we're always trying to get in the mix of things because our obsession with them is very intense. We diagnose the other, we fix the other, we caretake the other, we overfunction, we feel hurt, we feel victimized, traumatized, and what I call, we have them under our skin. They get under our skin. That's that experience of obsessing about someone. And we also tend to feel very, very needy with regard to them. In addition, we can have a hard time speaking up for ourselves because they are our obsession. Because we can't speak up for ourselves and be ourselves because our focus is all on them and self is invisible and gone. When we obsess, we never see what part of our lizard brain or that limbic system that's behind the obsession. All we feel is the obsession part. We don't know what's behind it and what's driving it and the anxiety that's producing that obsession. We don't have enough standalone self to be able to not obsess. And there are many other symptoms as well. I just wanted to give you some ideas. Most of you know kind of what that obsession's about. and how it feels and what the experience is. So what do I teach my clients to do when obsession or codependent obsession or enmeshment obsession is a problem? And again, this is what I teach clients. There are about 15 points. There are probably many others as well, but at least here's some of the core ones that I try to help people with reducing that obsession. First of all, focus on you. The focus has always been on them. Focus on you. Again, easier said than done. It's very simple, but it's not easy. And I can teach you how to do that and help you resolve things that help you focus and become yourself and focus on you rather than always being other focused. Let's say that the self is a car and you're driving, but the steering is broken. And focusing on you is like working hard to keep your car on the road with broken steering. I need to consult my client John, who knows everything about cars, and to help me with this analogy. And staying on the road is difficult if you've got a steering problem and you keep trying to stay on the road, but you keep heading off of it into obsession because you can't stay focused on self. And I coach clients how to stay on the road with broken steering to begin with, and then we work together to fix the steering on the self car itself. And it feels like this, that what happens is we end up getting focused on the other, and we keep having to bring ourselves back to focusing on ourselves. And then we head back over steering wise, and we're running off the road focusing on the other again, and then we have to work at helping ourselves get back on focus again. And I teach you how to move your face back over here on the road, which is a part of helping you to drive that car down the road rather than off the road by obsession. And as you do that, and as you keep doing that, what happens is you go less further towards obsession, and then you come back, and a little less towards obsession, and then you come back. And this is what I teach you to do here, to bring you back to focus on yourself. Now, I can't go in depth on each of these 15 ways to stop obsession. Each of them could require a video of themselves, but I wanted to give a quick and dirty rundown of those. Secondly, stop over-functioning, doing too much, trying too hard, giving too much, worrying too much, fearing too much, and stop standing on your own 4 feet. Now, why would I say stop standing on your own 4 feet? Because you're standing on your feet and their feet too, because you're obsessing on them. We begin to learn to stand on our own 2 feet, not all 4 feet. And there are ways we can certainly begin to behaviorally stop over-functioning, because that over-functioning causes even more and more obsession. Thirdly, examine and explore the downsides of obsessing about another. In other words, if I stop doing it, which sounds like a good thing, right? That's a great thing. Jerry, I just want to stop doing it. And if I did, all the world would be wonderful if I would just have this good thing of stopping the obsession. Well, actually, there are downsides. And these downsides are what I call, they are the downsides of a good thing. And if you identify those downsides of a good thing, which is taking kind of a paradoxical approach, you begin to heal that, and then you can enjoy the good things of the good parts of a good thing. For example, if I were to stop obsessing about Mary, who's, let's say I'm in a relationship with, and I can't stop obsessing about her. I don't know if she's talking to somebody else. I don't know if she's, I don't know if she loves me as much as I love her, those kinds of things. If I were to stop obsessing about her, what would be the downsides? I fear she might leave me. If I stop obsessing, she may just go away. I'll be abandoned. I'll be abandoned if I stop obsessing. I will have to see them as they truly are. I'll have to see Mary as she truly is. I will have to deal with me if I stop obsessing. And I'll have to learn to stand alone. All these things are not fun to hit us in our face, and the reality of that. I will have to face that I choose people who are not emotionally available to me, for example, who cannot commit or be healthy, or who know anything about mature intimacy. Well, that's no fun to face that. Let me tell you what's a good distraction. Obsessing. I don't want to face those fears. I'm going to obsess. Then I don't have to deal with those. If I dealt with those, I wouldn't need to be obsessing, and the obsessing wouldn't be happening. So fourthly, work on anxiety reduction. Anxiety creates a lot of anxiety, and anxiety binding creates a lot of obsession and interacts with a lot of obsessive work. So we learn to be more calm. We can meditate, do yoga, music, biofeedback, hot tub, hot bath, things that we can learn to calm ourselves. Because as our anxiety starts to go up, we then start to obsess, then we get connected with Mary, and then the anxiety goes back down. Then, when things happen between us, or I start getting worried again, or obsessing about them, the anxiety goes back up. And then I gotta obsess about Mary, and then when I get back with her, then it goes down. So if I can deal with my anxiety, I can really begin to deal with my obsession. Make sure we're, Fifthly, stop fault finding. Stop blaming. Stop sending negative energy, negative vibes. It only tightens the obsession all the more. Stop looking for her lies. Stop checking her phone. Stop demonizing them, or stop demonizing him, or your parents, or your mother, or whoever you obsess upon, whoever you're focusing upon. Focusing on their weak side, ignoring reality or the wholeness of them, and not having a holistic perspective of them. Mary may not be a bad person. She may be very different and isn't meeting my needs because my needs are not met by me. So I want her to meet them. Well, I'm going to criticize and obsess about her until she meets needs I should be meeting for myself. And so I'm going to think negative of her. Oh, she just is not going to do for me what I think she should be doing for me. So we want to stop that fault finding and blaming. Sixthly, we can use CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. That's a cognitive behavioral help. David Burns, in his book Feeling Good, is a good example. There are many other workbooks and things to challenge our negative and irrational thoughts about the one you're obsessing about. Those fearful, paranoid, jealous thoughts, neediness, fear of abandonment, all kinds of, hey, if we break up, I will just completely won't be able to survive. That's an irrational thought. Of course you'll survive if you break up. You're going to break up if you get a divorce. You're going to survive if you get married. You're going to survive. You can survive and you'll be okay. It's just we don't tend to believe that, and we have all these irrational thoughts. And he's probably at work right now, or Mary's probably at work right now, flirting with all the guys at her workplace, and we obsess about that. Now, in a few small cases, it's actually true. They may be unfaithful. That may be happening. I understand that. But many times our obsession is not completely realistic at all. Not every woman is interested in my husband. In fact, I'm sure almost every woman or person there cares about my husband or boyfriend. And it's crazy and unlikely that it even be possible that everybody there is caring about your boyfriend or caring about your girlfriend. That's too grandiose. Nobody's focusing on that, and so this work helps us to reduce catastrophizing. Seventh, focus on the good things of your life. Good relationships with your family. Again, you're getting focused back on you. Turning this around, getting focused on you. The church you love to go to. Having a great boss, or a good job that you have that you enjoy. That I lost a pound last week by walking more. I went to an ACOA meeting or a CODA meeting or a support group at church, that I have a fantastic friend who's wonderful and would do anything for me and is a lovely person. And they're a great guy, a great gal. And we focus on the good things of our life rather than obsession about the other person. 8th, begin to let go of your end of the rope in the obsession, in the arguing, in the pushing and pulling and distancing that we do back and forth as a pendulum in a relationship that we're obsessing about. The drama play, the roller coaster. Begin to let go of your end of the rope so you guys aren't doing a tug of war emotionally in the relationship system. I'm not going to get her to even see this my way. So how can I accept her and her autonomy and then adjust my life accordingly? For example, I want her to, we want to have a baby. I want her to have, I've had couples where I want her to have a baby. She needs to have a baby. Well, she's always said she really doesn't want to have a baby. Well, I always wanted to have a baby. Now we're going to obsess about this and argue about this time and time again. Can I accept? No. This is how she sees it. I need to accept that and her. And so I need to stop my obsession. Now what am I going to do with my life? Do I want to be with her? And if having a baby is more important than being with her, then you better find somebody else. At least you're not going to be tugging and yanking and pulling on her, and you're making yourself miserable. And in that environment, a kid's not going to grow up very healthy. So we begin to accept other people the way they are, even with their warts and failures and negative traits. 9, stop wishing upon a star for them or about them. I wish this would happen. If only that would happen. I'm dreaming about that happening. Once we get into that, that's a part of that obsessing process. 10th, start being you, yourself in the relationship. That means your values, your beliefs, heading where you're heading, with or without them. What do you want? What do you need? And focus on, what do you believe? What do you, well, my husband won't go to church with me. But go to church and see what might happen. If you're comfortable and more at ease with you, then we'll see what happens. But don't keep arguing and fighting and obsessing over your husband not going to church when he's got other issues as to why he doesn't want to go. He had a bad church experience growing up. He had a bad job experience over there doing that. And he's just not, he's got the brakes on. So go ahead and push on the accelerator for your life. Let them be and see how that begins to shape the relationship. Because it really can. Calmness, lack of anxiety, lack of reactivity changes relationships incredibly. 11, stop waiting to feel heard or understood. Well, if only I could be heard and understood. They just don't hear me. Mary just doesn't understand me. She's just not hearing my point. I'm trying to explain that to her. Why can't she get that through her head? Why can't she accept what I'm saying? And again, I'm trying to get her to feel heard and understood. Because when I grew up, I didn't feel heard and understood. That comes right on into my relationship with Mary. 12, and that's dealing with family of origin issues also help us reduce that obsession. Dealing with our issues help to reduce the obsession. 12, utilize paradoxical acceptance. Accepting the fact I'm not ready to stop obsessing. Can you accept yourself? Truly accept that you're not ready to stop obsessing and own it. Most of the time we're always resisting that, but then we get caught in a neurotic pull where, I shouldn't be doing this, but I can't help myself. Well, then I go, can you say to me, I'm not ready to stop obsessing? Once they say that, clients I talk to go, gosh, I feel so much relief. I'm not ready to stop obsessing. And it starts to calm them down and settle them down where they can go, hey, it tells yourself inside, it tells your inner self, you truly have a choice. Because if you're not ready to stop obsessing, that means you could be ready to stop obsessing when you're ready. And that means midwifing. And I help people midwife so they can have that baby of giving up that obsession. And but it goes through the acceptance. And in fact, you can even look up online paradoxical acceptance. There's some really good articles online you ought to take a look at. It's a very powerful tool. 13, thought stopping. That's a simple behavioral approach of put a rubber band around your wrist. Every time you think about them, give yourself a little snap. We want to change our brain about us focusing on them, and that's thought stopping. I want to stop those thoughts that I'm having because they're not helping me, they're not helping the relationship. Obsession does not help a relationship. It won't make it move forward. We just think it will. From our limbic system, the unconscious, we just think that will do it. If you 14, if you fail or relapse, start again. Because again, if your face goes over to obsession, you come back over again. And if you find yourself, oh, I relapsed, I'm back, well, let's start again. And the more you do that, the more you're going to stay focused. And then 15, with really severe obsessions, I help people use the 12 steps, just like somebody giving up alcohol. You're addicted to Mary, you're addicted to Bob, you're Ed. Let's go, I'm addicted to my boyfriend and my life has become unmanageable. Just like I'm addicted to alcohol and my life has become unmanageable. It's the first step of AA. 12-step program can be a real help to you in dealing with that obsession if it's really severe and damaging your life. 12-step work helps with really severe obsession and love addiction. Well, folks, I'm about ready to head back home to Indiana. It's been wonderful down here in Miami, and I wanted to offer you this short video. The topic could be expanded to 3 hours, but I wanted to give you some snapshot help for those of you who find yourself obsessing about family of origin, relationships, people in your life. I have many more free videos on my YouTube channel, Jerry Wise Relationship Systems. I have 150 or so videos out there for you to watch. I've got some pay-per-view videos coming up. I hope that you will join my YouTube channel, subscribe, you'll get every new video that comes out. Join my Facebook, same name, Jerry Wise Relationship System. Twitter is @JerryWiseRS. And my website is jerrywiserelationshipsystems.com. You can contact me. There's going to be some exclusive content coming up on Facebook as well. There's already some up there that you don't get on the videos. You can see my contact information on the screen. Give me a call, send me an email, give me a little bit of time to respond to you. Contact me for personal coaching and help with your relationships. I want to thank you for joining me down here in Miami South Beach, and I want to thank you for watching, and have a great day.